I'm going to ask for you to close your eyes first and foremost, find a comfortable seat. You may even wish to lie down. And we're going to start the practice with a meditation. So your eyes are closed, your breathing is soft and natural. And this meditation is going to be backed by a mantra that is sung by Akan Jor from Snatam Kaur. I completely butcher the names. But it is a mantra that is specifically for acceptance. Specifically for acceptance. And so I'm going to play the mantra. It's a 7-minute long mantra. And with that, your eyes are closed, your breathing is soft and gentle. And throughout the time of meditation, this is just going to be simply about bringing yourself back to the present moment, back to the breath, back to the body, noticing how you're feeling. I'm going to let the mantra play. I'm not going to guide anything. I'm going to rely completely on you hearing the mantra and meditating with it, allowing the words as they are resonance tools to bring into your experience and into our practice this morning, this feeling of acceptance, the feeling of acceptance.
Begin to deepen your breath. And set an intention for your practice this morning. What is it that you're willing to give your practice? And how is it that you want to feel when you step off the mat? So this morning's practice, this mantra that we listened to and meditated with is all about acceptance. And our theme this morning is loving kindness. And in order for us to be in a place, in a state of loving kindness, there is a deep amount of acceptance that generally precedes loving kindness. I recorded a full podcast episode last week on loving kindness. And so I will be sharing the link to that in the recording notes so that you can listen to it and meditate on loving kindness itself. And for loving kindness, this is a term that is loosely translated from various ancient languages. So in Buddhism and in Sanskrit, it is known as metta, M-E-T-T-A, metta. And we meditate on metta, and we can even use something called the metta bhavana prayer, which is really about bringing happiness and joy and ease to ourselves, to each other, and to the collective. There's a certain amount of acceptance of what is in order for us to be in a metta state. And so what I'd love for you to do is grab your lavender And we're going to place 1 drop of lavender onto yin tang, which is onto the brow chakra. So in the center of your brow, very light, place a drop of lavender here. I really love just gently stroking this space. This brings about a sense of calmness and ease. We do this quite often to children or puppies. Just gently stroking this area from the third eye down to the top or the bridge of the nose. And then allow the finger just to rest gently onto the third eye. Notice if your breath changes at all. Maybe it becomes deeper, maybe it evens out. And then take a deep breath in of the lavender. Know that those aromatic molecules are moving their way through the olfactory system into the brain itself, inducing a state of calm and receptivity. Today's practice is really about opening through the front of the body, and more so than we did on day 1. At the top, we're going to move down to the lower part, so into the hip area. Now, it's really important to note that the hips, the front of the hips, where the psoas muscles, the iliac psoas muscles live, this is an area where we carry a lot of fright, a lot of fear. And so as we're moving through, opening up through the front abdominal wall and through the psoas muscle, the idea here is to allow gravity to draw you down, and also just to notice what happens throughout the day. Now, this is the final day of the 4-part series. I've heard from some of you who've gotten ill, who've gotten really angry, who've experienced extreme sadness, who have even gotten to the point where you feel extreme exhaustion. And I want to let you know that unless, of course, there's concern, so you need to see a doctor or something just doesn't feel right, you know what that feels like. A lot of these symptoms are quote unquote normal as you're releasing toxicity, whether that be in an emotional state of toxicity, out of the body. So for today's practice, we're going to do 2 poses, and but one of them is a bilateral, so we do that twice. Let me get my timer. The first one is called Sphinx pose. And so I like to have a nice soft cushioning for this practice underneath my body, because firstly, we're going to be laying on our tummies, and I always find that this, my hip bones get really sore when I'm lying flat on the floor on my stomach on a hard surface. So if you're not on a soft carpet, you may want to put something underneath your hips. A folded up blanket also works wonderfully. You may want some blocks or books or pillows or something just to lift your hips or your elbows. And we're going to lie flat onto the front of your body. Okay. So as you're lying down onto the front of your body, your elbows draw underneath your shoulders. Yeah. And you allow your whole body to rest down. So even if you want to slouch in through the shoulders, that's fine. What I really love to do is press onto the elbows and allow my hands to support my head. So you can either allow the hands to support the eye sockets, the chin. The feet naturally flop. This is bringing in a really healthy compression in through the lower back. Now remember how I said we're going to open up the front of the body? Yes, we are. Firstly, you feel this in your lower back because it's a compression in through the spine. So we are literally taking all of the weight of our top body and very gently and delicately placing it into the lower back. The higher we lift the front body, the more of a stretch we get in the front body, and the deeper the compression in through the lower back. So if this is enough for you, if this feels at your edge, then I want you to stay here. Please note that if you do have something under your hips, you're already lifted a little bit, which is to say that if your elbows are down on the floor and your hips are lifted a little bit, this isn't a very deep expression. If this is too much for you and you feel like you need to back it off, your elbows go a bit wider and you can rest your head on your hands. But if you want to go a bit higher, you place a block or a blanket underneath your elbows and lift the body up. Now, you have to relax your buttocks. And the higher you go, the closer your elbows come to the body. And you will feel this in your lower back. We're here for another 2 minutes. I'm going to read to you about loving kindness and acceptance from something that I've prepared. And I'm going to ask you some questions as you're in these poses. And you can either meditate on the question or your answer, or you can block me out and focus on the breath, okay? So my first question for you is, what is loving kindness for you? What does it mean to have loving kindness? What does it mean to you to feel loving kindness? You have 1 more minute. If you want to lift the elbows a bit higher, you can. If you're happy where you are, just stay right where you are. I think now in these times that we're living in, loving kindness is one of the most important virtues that we can embody. And so my next question is, how do we cultivate and embody this virtue in our lives? I'm giving you my little puppy. Stay here for 3 more breaths. And as you go deeper into this pose, meaning the longer you're in this pose, you may find your buttocks clenching, trying to hold on and trying to take the load off the lower back. And whilst that's a natural response in this practice, remember, we want no muscular activity. So we want to relax the buttocks as much as possible. To come out of this pose, you're going to gently, very, very, very slowly come off any props, widen the elbows, and rest the forehead on the hands. Relax the body completely. Breathing into the back body. There is so much oxygen that moves into the back part of the lungs. So lying on our tummies, we allow for that oxygen to fill our lungs to a deeper capacity. Stay right where you are. All right, we're going to come out of this pose, press onto your heels, and sit up. Now you may want to have a block under your butt. You'll see I strategically placed one there at the beginning of the practice. And we're just going to allow the spine to come back into its neutral position. So you're sitting up nice and tall. Lift your hips as high as you need. Notice, how does your lower back feel now? And let's start to practice what it feels like to embody loving kindness. So if you were to pour love and kindness into the parts of your lower back that feel compressed, or perhaps even a little bit uncomfortable, imagine yourself pouring loving kindness into the lower part of your back. Okay, the next practice, the next pose is called lizard. So, baby girl, you're just going to sit here, okay? Sit, sit. Okay, stay. Okay. Take your left foot and place it to the top of your mat. Okay. And I want you to turn your toes to the front left corner of your mat. So you're externally rotating your thigh out. Yeah. The back knee is pressed into a soft cushion so that it protects the knee and makes it feel a little bit more comfortable. And now I want you to allow your hips to really sag low. But here's the thing. Your knee must be on top of your ankle. Okay. So we don't really want the knee to go too far forward. We don't want to pitch, Lily. We don't want it pitched too far forward like that. We want to make sure that the ankle is stacked underneath the knee. In the hips, with the stacking of the bones, the hips can really relax. When the bones are not stacked, we leave ourselves open to injury. So it's really important that we have those bones stacked. Now, as you allow the hips to sink low, you will find that there's a deep stretch in through the front right hip, the hip flexor. You'll notice that I have a block underneath my arms, my hands, to support the lifting for my torso. The other thing is that you can use your elbows onto the front thigh to lift yourself up, interlacing the hands and really pressing your arms into that front thigh. I really like having something in the front of my body to support myself. And then with every minute that passes by, I can allow myself to sink a bit deeper. Now, not only will you start to feel it in that front right thigh, the front hip, but you'll also feel a deep compression through the inner left thigh as well. For some people who are really flexible in through their hips, going down onto the elbows here is not something that's too far-fetched. So if going down onto your elbows is something that feels good for you, you are more than welcome to. Hello, baby girl. Yes. Thank you. So many kisses. Okay. Just sit down. Real deep compression in through those hips. Just keeping it real, people. I'm sure you guys have kids, animals that come into your yin practice as well. Just know that you don't have to do it apart from them. They can be a part of it. Okay. Take 3 more breaths here. Really. Just relax. Chill, 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 chill. Okay. And if you're in that deepest expression, I want you to start coming up. No, Lily, stop now. Stop. Just sit. Sit. Stay. Sit. Stay. Stay. Okay. You know, grab hold of the right foot. Oh my goodness. So you may want to prop yourself up a little bit. And reach your right arm around and grab hold of the right foot. This is going to stretch through the right calf. Yeah. Again, if you have really flexible hips, you may want to be on the elbow of that front left arm. or else just being here is fine. This is really stretching through the front of that right thigh. And we're not going to be here very long, but again, allowing the hips to settle down. The further down you relax through that right hip, the deeper you'll feel the stretch through the right thigh, and even stretching into the right knee. Remember, no pain, no sharp shooting sensations. It's like this dull ache. 3 more breaths here. One more breath. Gently release the back leg. And then wave your body back, releasing through that front hip. Bring your knees to touch and sit back onto your hips. Allowing the spine to come back into its natural shape. Notice, where do you feel different? Is there a slight difference between the left and right sides of your body? If there isn't, that's fine, but we're just noticing. We're going to go into the other side. Your right foot goes forward, top of the mat. Turn the foot out to the right corner of the mat. And again, your hands are underneath your shoulders, your knees on top of your front ankle, and we're allowing the hips to settle down. Position the knee comfortably on a soft cushion behind you, really allowing for gravity to draw your whole hip section down. The hips are really heavy, so if we allow for gravity to draw them down, we create this real weight through the hips, allowing that iliopsoas area, the psoas muscles, to stretch. I have found that throughout this practice, the deeper I breathe, the more I feel the sensation of stretching and tugging open up my front body. Now remember, your breath is connected to the diaphragm muscle, obviously. It is also connected to the psoas muscle. So when I first started doing deep breath work, I noticed deep release in my psoas, in my belly. I noticed how much more tired I was in my life, in my everyday life. And this is just a deep emotional release in through the psoas. You know, the psoas I've mentioned before is the strongest for its size. Maybe you'd like to go even deeper down, coming down onto the elbows or removing any props. You really want the feeling of gravity drawing you down. Breathing into the belly, allowing every breath to stretch through the psoas. So the psoas in itself connects into the C vertebra, the cervical spine. Sorry, the thoracic. Oh my gosh. Comedy of errors this morning. Into the thoracic spine, and it wraps around the spine from the back through to the inner thigh. No, Lily, stop. No. And so you will feel the ellipsoas not only stretch through the front of the hip, but you'll also feel it stretch in through the inner thigh, the top of the inner thigh. All right, we're going to do a bit of a stretch here of that left glute and now also the left thigh. So right hand down, left foot up, grab hold of the left foot and stretch through the left thigh muscle. And you're pulling it in towards the buttock, using anything you need to stabilize through the pose. You're here for 3 big rounds of breath, breathing in. Breathing in. And very gently release it. Come out of the pose super slowly. Super slowly. And then sit back. Really relaxing. Letting the spine come back into its natural shape. You can open up your eyes, turn around so that you're going to lie onto your back now. So to prepare for Shavasana today, the final part is that on day 1, we worked with opening up through the heart space and we placed a block or a prop underneath the heart and lay back for a supported fish pose. Today, we're going to do the same concept, except we're going to move the block lower down. So the block is going to go underneath the sacrum, and we're going to do what we call supported bridge pose. Now, there are a few things about supported bridge pose that we must address. Firstly, if you are menstruating, it's advised not to lift the hips higher than the body. And so if you are menstruating today, you could just go straight into Shavasana and allow for the body to rest that extra little bit. There are a couple of ways to do supported bridge. So supported bridge comes in a myriad of different variations. The block is placed on, or shall I say the hips are placed on the block, but the flat part of your lower spine, the sacrum, the really flat, large, bony part of your lower back is placed on the prop, whether it be a cushion, a bolster, or a block. And so what I see a lot of is that the block is either placed too high or too low, and this places pressure on an area that we're not targeting for this pose. So the whole point of supported bridge is not only to lift the hips higher, but also, especially if you're working with a hard surface like a block or a book or something, it's to wake up the connective tissue in through the sacrum area. This area, because this bone is so thick and strong and sturdy, there's hardly ever movement that goes in through this area. And so by placing pressure, remember how I said the hips are very heavy, by pressing into this area, we bring blood flow to this area. And so we rejuvenate and bring about some oxygenation into this area. So it's important that you actually have the sacrum on top of the prop. And remember, the harder the prop, so a block would be hard and a cushion would be soft. The harder the prop, the more intense this pose becomes. There's no good, there's no bad. It's just completely different. So you lie back with the sacrum onto the block, and you'll feel that it feels kind of nice. It kind of feels like a little ledge. So, oh my gosh, it's like this little ledge. So your first option is to have the knees bent with the feet underneath the knees, and you drop the knees in together, toes pointing towards one another, and we allow the body to rest here. The second option is to bring the feet parallel and walk the feet just a bit further out from the knees. You'll find that this is a little bit of a deeper posture. Just puts a little bit more pressure into that lower spine. And the third option is to extend the legs completely, letting the heels fall to the ground and the feet falling outwards. And this is the full variation of supported bridge. You may need to wiggle yourself around to make sure that you are completely on that flat surface. This is still a back bend, so it's still moving into that lower back compression that we felt in Sphinx pose at the beginning of today's practice. Really opening up through the fronts of the hips and the belly. If you're looking for a deeper variation here, you can extend your arms up overhead. If that's too much, just bring your arms down, resting on your belly, or have your hands laying next to your hips on the ground with your palms facing up as you would in Shavasana. Notice how your body feels like it wants to clench. Keep the breath slow and steady, in and out through the nose. 3 more rounds of breath. Notice how the body's feeling. Is the mind playing tricks on you? What are the stories or the repetitive phrases that are going on in your mind right now? If you are in the extended version, you can slowly bend the knees. Take your time, please. This is a very deep posture. We want to make sure we take care of the body. Bending the knees, placing the feet on the ground. Press into the feet to lift the hips. Take the prop out. Lay the body back down onto the ground. And then drop the knees towards one another to release through the sacrum, toe heeling the feet out as wide as the mat. We rest here for a few rounds of breath. And then we rest into Shavasana. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring life to your fingers, your toes. Roll your wrists, your ankles. Draw your knees into your chest. And then press yourself up to a comfortable seat. You can grab your lavender. Place a drop in your palm. Rub your hands together and take 3 deep inhalations. Thumbs through to Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the front of the chest. Bow your head. May I be happy. May you be happy. May we be happy. May I be free. May you be free. May we be free. May I experience ease. May you experience ease. May we experience ease. So be it, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for allowing the craziness of real life to be part of this experience. Thank you for being a part of this series and for allowing yourself, gifting yourself the freedom to practice, to be in your body, and to experience the joy of what it means to move energy. If you have any questions at all, if anything's come up for you, please email me, let me know how I can serve you. And from all of us here at the Pienaar house, the Pienaar house, have a wonderful, wonderful day, week, month. Until next time.